nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ken, are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, so earlier, this is for the Jefferson Street project. Just kind of I tried to shoot out an email, a summary to the group earlier today. I don't have any specific, I got the plan sheets and stuff and some different layouts and things that we provided. Yeah, you got the historic district there and stuff like that. So really just take any questions, and maybe I can, for the group's benefit, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the timing. This project was put on hold in 2017, I think it was like March or April of 2017. So we've taken, just for reference, Jefferson Street from 36 to York, we've taken the plans to 90% complete. And then we were entertaining the idea to go for the community crossings, and then I guess it at some point stalled the discussion. So really it's road reconstruction, replacing all the curb, all the pavement, new storm, new sanitary. We've also included lighting, and then I'm trying to think of anything else. We've also, and then we went through a landscaping sort of exercise as well to show some SketchUps and some different things. So based on the level of, that we want to go with this project now, we can kind of reinvestigate all that, but we're pretty far along in the design, obviously, there. So now, something to clarify, we were under design to do York Street over to Market at one point, and then that got pulled out to just focus on Jefferson, just due to, I think, some of the initial cost estimates on York. We're getting up there, so.
Yeah, I guess can you get you up to speed why all of a sudden the notice to try to get out here in a week or so. The window of opportunity for community crossing is opened again and closing of the month. The fact that we had no project quite really ready to go based on the discussion with Jeff and the rest of the board. And then the fact that we've got that handicap ramp being done for us, so that takes some of that out of the project. And then also we have that Jackson Jacks building that we acquired. That kind of throws that sort of into the project. All those things together. And the fact that we have a considerable amount of money invested in design, it's like, well, geez, we should look at this again. And thanks for getting out so fast.
Yeah, so with that, the community crossings open now, and it's closing the end of July. That was the one clarification I'd like to get through NDOT is the whole, I wrote it on there for 1D, SEPA and the CRO, Cultural Resources Office. Basically, this project is in the historic district, so we have to follow those guidelines. That was not obviously an original design because it was local funded, there was no state funding involved, so we pushed forward with.
So let's clarify that. Okay,
yeah.
If we use local money, we don't have to go through.
You wouldn't have to go through the state fund requirements. So the community crossings is state funds and not federal.
So we're using that. We have to go through that. Okay.
So we actually just got through the CRO approval or COA for City of Westville Project 32. Now that was much more substantial of removal of historic buildings, and we went through a lengthy process for that. Now that had a lot more mitigation for the historic. This one is contained, this project would be contained primarily, back to sidewalk. Shouldn't be any new right-of-way, and then we'd have to kind of tweak some design to stay within the existing right-of-way. Because I know on the east side, the sidewalk was coming a little bit across the right-of-way line, but I know Mark had plans at one point for parking lot reconstruction and things through there. So we'd have to kind of get into that, or get back into that as well. So.
Right.
But back to the CRO, that process can take anywhere from 8 to 15 months. Now, I'd like to get with NDOT and get some clarification on, if you put the application in, the town is committing, they would have to also commit to the SEPA and the CRO coordination. Additionally, now you still get the 75-25. And also, I stated in that wouldn't cover some of the items that we've included in the original project, sanitary water, decorative poles, benches, things like that.
Because the cost is going to go up. So have you been able to do any kind of
estimate on construction costs and the amount it will increase?
So
He's got one from, what, 2017?
2017 included all of that stuff, and it was at 620,000. Now, and we'd have to do the math and pull things out, add things, inflation back. So it may be around that number. We'd have to kind of get back into it. I can't see it being much. Yeah, I don't want to go on record saying what I think it would be, but I couldn't see it being much more if we sort of took out and did kind of a minimal, or whatever was
Right.
desired at this time.
Because
Maybe
was
add to
the
it later.
ADA, was the ramp?
It was in that
included,
original, wasn't
it? It was
So
included in
we
that.
Take that out.
Yeah, that would
Take
be
out
taken
some of the
out.
decorative and landscaping maybe.
Yeah.
One thing we need to look at, though, is the drainage up at that intersection of York. and
Yeah, that north,
Pretty.
southeast,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bad spot. Well, so how should we proceed tonight? What do we need to do?
Right, so I would like to get a call with either Carla Sheets or Susie Kemp at the district, just to get some clarification on the timing. Because I know the way it works, it's October, November award or announcement, and then it would be 4 months after that, you have to have an expert, basically the project bid. So these are a lot different, these are usually for the pavement projects we've done before that go pretty quick and they can bid them quickly. This would have to go through that process. So but I kind of want to get the clarification from her that if the town applied and was able to be awarded the funding, if there was more leniency on the deadline, we would just need to get that worked out.
Okay.
Or kind of talk through before fully committing. And that's why I wanted to get here tonight when it opened, so that we can kind of get through those discussions and see if they would entertain that, so.
Does the timing of taking down the building play any role?
Well, I mean, the sidewalk there and the entrance, we'd have to talk about the entrance for parking in the future. As far as the building, I anticipate having it down. We're going to talk redevelopment at the end of the month, see what they'll do. But I saw that whatever the removal of the lift
Yes.
appeared to be going on today.
Yeah. The lifts, and I think they're coming back tomorrow to take the rest of the automotive fluids out of there in the tanks.
So after that, I mean, we can put it out the bid to get it down.
Yeah, once we have the bid specs in place, it's just a matter of funding it
Who's removing
and putting out
it?
bids. It's through the POSI Brownfields grant.
So,
It's the SES, they're doing the removal or whether something.
so yeah, that the original question. But yeah, that appears to be on track and incorporated into the overall.
Just make sure you get their letter of completion. Not that that would change your bid specs, but just make sure you stay on for that.
So, you need to talk to Susie?
We need
That's
to
up
have
at
a call
INDOT?
with
She's
INDOT.
at
Yeah,
INDOT.
I can set something up with Jeff and I to call her and just, hey, this, that kind of length into this type of project doesn't seem to, from a schedule standpoint, make sense, so.
One thing I would encourage you to do, folks, is to let Ken know specifically what you want out of this project. What you want done, what you don't want done. Try to whittle it down as close as you can.
Yeah. Well, I think first we need to see if it'll fit in the timeline that we have.
Yeah.
And from that, if it doesn't, we still need to look at this project and figure out options. I mean, we have the investment, we have some costs reduced because thanks to NDOT already. So we really need to look at it hard and figure out what we can do. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some of the costs covered.
Right, oh yeah, I mean, it would be, from over 25, 75 match, so pretty substantial, obviously, so. First and foremost is getting the timeline for that, if they would entertain any extension. Now, I know they do read further down in the requirements that if you are waiting that long, you may not be able to be eligible for the next round of funding, so that's something else to take into consideration. So,
Yeah.
I think I need to sit down and go through July. I think the next one's probably December, January.
What
Just
will we
kinda-
talk about
Because
then, Jeff?
we've got Jackson Voorhees slated for that
Well, wait a
application.
minute. That project requires funding through stormwater Oak Ridge we can get?
Yeah, and
I mean,
we talked about using partial community crossings grant for that money also.
right, but now they meet tomorrow night, don't they? Stormwater,
I think it's next week.
next Wednesday?
Yeah.
How big a project is that?
Substantial.
Well, I was thinking so.
Yeah.
So are they're, well, we're talking external financing, are we not?
More than likely, because I don't think we have enough to cover it with all the CCNG.
Well, no, I mean, that's just gonna,
We wouldn't have a match, I mean,
Isn't it like 1.2?
yes, somewhere around there.
okay. You going to that meeting next week?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's Wednesday night, I think I'm gonna try to be there just so I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, anything else you need from us right now?
Not that I can think of, really, just kind of give an update on Jefferson. South Market, environmental documents have been submitted to NDOT for review. So next steps there would be, once that's approved, or if it gets to a certain point where it's released for public involvement, we would then have the public hearing. We would then have to schedule that, get that all together. And then, once the environmental is approved, then roll into the right-of-way acquisition phase of appraising and buying. One thing though, Jeff, I'll contact you separately, but we want to get together sanitary water on South Market. We got to a certain point, and then I know there's been some new people, so I'd like to get engaged and make sure we're good on what we're proposing before we do final design. Final design would be more likely mid next year, so about a year from now. But we want to keep that stuff going, so we're not,
Is construction 23 or
23. So then that's another timing to kind of time out maybe with the community crossings project. If a contractor's mobilized and they're right near here, it may help, but, yeah, I think that's all I had on South Market, so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
23?
Cool. Thanks.
Appreciate you coming in.
No problem.
Roger?
Good evening, guys.
How are you?
Good. I always bring gifts with me. Look at that, as if I counted it. This is the preliminary engineering report for the drinking water system. So that's the complete report. I brought you a copy. Just leave it right here for whoever would like to take it home and read it. But I summarized it very quickly here, and I want to share with you guys our findings for the treatment plant. Okay. First page just talks about the service area. That was important just because of the amount of people, the population that it serves. There's 2,500, 2,600 people in town. Plus you add to that 1,200 inmates and 115 county jail. So you can see that there's quite a chunk of usage that goes to the prison and the jail, and then the rest goes to the town. And that comes into play later, on the sewer system. I'm working with Jeff on some issues with the prison for the sewer system and who's going to pay for what, and that comes into play. When you use 30% of the town's water, you're producing 30% of the sewage. That's where. We're still looking at that, and we'll bring it to you at some point. The next page. This is originally the treatment design. There are 2 filtration beds, about 1,050 gallons per minute, and you have 5 pump houses, and you can see the rates there for the pump houses. The filtration beds are anthracite media. They're really simple technically. They work very well. They go through backwash, and then the backwash discharges out to the pond, and then the clean water is pumped into the tanks, into the towers in town. The next page, current project needs. We went through all the components, all the way from the wells to the towers, and really that went further beyond the towers into the little pipes and meters everywhere through town. And what we found to start with at the wells, you have some medium to low corrosion at the wells that needs to be addressed. The well heads, the pedestals, everything needs to be sandblasted and repainted to prohibit corrosion. You know, as it stands right now, you can see from the picture on page 4, there's some corrosion on the wellhead. And that will continue to deteriorate if we don't fix it. So that's a minor thing. The picture in the middle shows the tanks. One of the 2 tanks at the facility. The newer tank is in fairly good shape. The older tank needs some help. There's some extensive corrosion at the bottom of the tank. That tank will have to be emptied, probably drilled and re-welded on the bottom. And then sandblasted and painted for protection. So there are some issues with the tank there, but nothing catastrophic at this point. It could turn into something that, you know, would prohibit getting water to the town at some point if it's not addressed. So that's that. And then on the right-hand side is the chlorination system. And that chlorination system is also in bad shape just because it's corroded over the years and it has not been maintained properly. What I didn't want to fill with all kinds of pictures, this report is full of pictures. There's also the SCADA system, the electronic system, the heart, the brains of the whole pump and treat system. And that one is starting to fail. Parts are not available for replacement, so it really needs to be refurbished and replaced in its entirety. Page 5, you have to provide alternatives. After you do all this study and you say, okay, here are our findings, so what are your alternatives? The first alternative is the no action, and that's the baseline. No action, we do nothing, we stay the way we are today. It doesn't cost a penny, but we have the problems we have. The second alternative was refurbishing and replacing portions of the existing system. And the reason we went with that alternative as one of the 3 that I developed, because the third one was replacing the entire system. And when you look at the feasibility of the 3 options, number 1 is really not much of an option, it's just a baseline to do nothing. Number 3 is a replacement of an entire system. That's crazy because you'd have to shut down facilities and there will be major disruption to the town. So 2 seems the common sense one, which is basically replacing portions as needed before they fail. Page 6 is just a quick, we have to put that in the report, what's feasible and what's not. And you can see that no action is obviously feasible across the board, from effectiveness, technically and administratively feasible and a cost. The second option is also feasible across the board just because there's sections and portions that are needed and we can work through that. The third option, which is replacing the existing system, is feasible for short and long-term effectiveness. Technically it's feasible, but obviously cost, it's not feasible for the town to take on something that large. Page 7, 8, and 9, if you want to read through those, they're just, when you provide a recommendation, you have to show advantages and disadvantages for each option. So I went through that basically for instance, the no action. The advantages, it's no cost, it's easy to implement because you're doing nothing, there are no environmental impacts. But then the disadvantages is basically that you're looking at system failure and major disruptions to the town. On page 8, the same thing, disadvantages and advantages for number 2, which is the recommended one we're going to go with. The advantages is that we'll provide major repairs where needed. It's technically feasible. It's manageable as far as shutting down waters for sections of the town for short periods of time to do the repairs. And then you can see number 3, page 9, the advantages is 1 new production system, but the disadvantages are huge. So on page 10, we selected alternative 2, which is the components as the way to go. There's the well and pump houses, as I said, we need to do some work on those. The building itself, the water treatment building, it needs new lighting, it needs new ventilation. We need to replace the existing electrical with updated electrical, maybe LED lights, something that makes that place less humid and better lit for people that are working there. Treatment filter number 1 and 2, they're kind of similar. We need to just make sure that they are in good working condition structurally. They are sandblasted, painted, and in good functioning form. The chlorination system, we basically have to scrub the chlorination system and restart it. All the pipes, everything that's steel in there has to be replaced with PVC or non-corrosive materials and has to be protected for the future. The aeration system in the chlorination room is broken, so should you have a leak, there's no way for the trigger to go on and aerate it outside. Somebody could potentially walk in there and be in danger of getting burnt or suffocation. So that's part of replacing that chlorination system. The SCADA system, the electronics, like I said, that's the brains of everything, and it is aging. And replacement parts are very hard to find. So SCADA, we could put a new up-to-date SCADA system in there that would do an excellent job. The backwash pond is just filled with vermiculite. It needs to be dredged and cleaned and get all the siltation and the iron deposits out of there, send them to a landfill. And then we went into the little nitty-gritty of things, the water valves in town, the water lines in town. We had multiple meetings with Cody and the guys that take care of that, and we ironed out everywhere where we see problems. In the report, you'll see a list of the addresses and what's wrong, even down to the small lines, whether it's a 2-inch line or a 1-inch line or a 4-inch line, the replacements that are required. Fire hydrants, there's a few of them in town that are having problems. Obviously, that's a fire suppression problem that needs to be rectified, and that is included in this proposal, in this PER, and then the water meters. I'm moving on to page 13. Construction costs, these are estimates, engineering estimates. The way I do engineering estimates, I have databases that I use, and I also actually go out to local contractors and I say, hey guys, what would it cost to do this? And they give me actual costs, and I put them together, and then we'll put a safety factor on top of that, and we'll come up with those estimates. The wells and pump houses, you're looking at the first line, for instance, is the pedestals. They're about $3,000 a piece to get them sandblasted, painted. They need new flow meters. You need to replace. We're replacing mobile backup power. We're getting 2 liquid propane generators.
So when you say mobile, I'm trying to envision, they on site?
They're on a trailer or in the back of a truck, and the reason we went with mobile, because the town could use them anywhere they needed to.
Okay.
They would be paid for under this program, but let's say you had an emergency somewhere else, the sheriff calls and says, man, I need power here now. It's LP, it's liquid propane, it's on a trailer, they hook it and they go, and it's available for the town. So that's a good way to have backup for our water system and really use it somewhere else. We didn't go with diesel because diesel goes bad after a while, and then you have to do the maintenance and all that. The idea was use liquid propane. It was Jeff's idea. It said use liquid propane. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean, and I think it works. So those are $65,000 a piece. They're not cheap, but I think they're well worth it. The treatment building. If you look at the building, you go through the line items, you can see that, we're looking at backup power, we're looking at replacing the floats on one of the assemblies. I think that has been fixed since then. Jeff, that float, has it been fixed? I thought Cody mentioned something. If not, it's in there, it's $3,500, it's not a huge thing. And then you have priming the tanks and sandblasting, $26,000. Everything is broken down in this cost estimate for each tank. The chlorination station, basically you're looking at about $30,000 to replace the whole station. The electronics, the SCADA system, it's an expensive item. You're looking at about $165 to replace all that. Backwash pond is not a big deal. It's $18,000, and it's done probably once every 20 years. It's not something that you have to do every year or what have you. Then you see the water valves. There are multiple different sizes, 32 of them, 27 of them. And everyone has a number attached to it, what it takes to replace those. The next page, 15, you see the water line replacements. The big item here is the 8-inch line that goes from the station up to one of the towers. There's a new line and there's an old line that has leaks in it, and it's not failed yet. It's probably at some point will fail. It's an old ductile iron.
So that's running from the well house out there to
No, the lines that are going from the well houses to the station are fine.
Okay, yeah.
This one's going from the station up to the west tank, I think.
Where's it going, Jeff? Is it going to the west? Which was west? That's north, that's south. Then you say west.
Towards town.
The southern tank. The south,
South
Okay.
tank.
the
It'd
south
be this
tank.
South tank.
Okay,
Yeah. My west, remember, I'm not from here. Yeah.
okay.
The south
That
bank.
would be north, not west.
That's north, that's south.
So where's west?
Well,
There's no west.
we're referring to the south.
Come on, ladies.
South equals west in this conversation.
Okay.
I grew up in the city all my life. We turned left on 2nd Street.
Gotcha.
Okay, so multiple water lines that need to be replaced, and you can see the cost there. Then the fire hydrant assemblies, there are 12 of them at about $6,500 a
Yeah, we
piece.
saw any fire hydrants, we use all the ones that we buy some at one
We
time.
bought
Bought
10,
10,
they
they
put
should
them
have
in.
been 2 installed.
And I,
Yeah, I think they were all installed.
yeah, we
Okay.
talked about doing some of those on an annual basis.
Well, here's some more.
We only did one a year.
Well, I think these, should that go through, these 12 should get all the fire hydrants up to speed to where they need to be.
Okay.
And then we can go on an annual or every 5-year maintenance program where the town can start looking at those and say, okay, we have 3 of them now.
1,800 or 148 water meter pits.
Yes.
That are leaking.
So the valves in the pits are leaking. That was-
So is that where all of our water?
You know, between the valves we have just in our main lines and a lot of the meter pits, it would probably be a significant amount that would apply to our water loss.
There's quite a bit of water loss. It's all detailed in there. And a lot of those water pits, that are leaking or need to be replaced, the meters, they're not legible electronically, so all those could be replaced. So it's a considerable amount, and it's over $250,000. And then a new air relief valve, that's for the 8-inch water main that's going to be installed at the high point. It has to have an air relief valve, so that's in there. So you're looking at construction costs about $1.8 million. When you add the contingency, you're about $2 million for total construction cost. And then the non-construction costs, which includes administrative, you have environmental permitting, grant administration, the engineering portions of it, which is the design, locating existing lines, right-of-way easements, identification, preparing bid documents, and construction engineering as-built. You have legal counsel in here, and then you have accounting. So you're about $500,000 in non-construction costs for a total probable cost for a project about $2.5 million. The next page, which is page 17, shows you the operation and maintenance costs. Those are based on actual numbers that I derived from the town. You have salaries, wages, insurance, pensions, everything's broken down. And you have about almost close to $500,000 also in operation costs.
You don't have our current debt there. You had it in here. Is there current debt in there? That's not part of operation.
No.
So I think our current debt on water is what, paid off, Brady? Is it January 2023 or? What is it, 183,000 a year? I'm just trying to,
Isn't 50 something per payment this year?
no, it's more than that, I thought. Jeff, you remember? It's been a, let's look at that. I'm just thinking, okay, well, we'll get that paid off, turn around, finance this, just rough numbers. I mean, 15 years, without including interest, be $166,000 a year. I mean, I thought we were paying, I know the one debt's or the sewer. Yeah, where's appropriation? This is just, I don't have appropriation, I gotta, yeah, dude, figure one of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, how critical is this? I mean, do we need to do it tomorrow, or can we
Next year.
do we try to start?
We thought about, trying to get the process in line for, what do we say, 2023 when that other debt is
I think it's
retired?
January 2023.
24, Brandy is what you told me.
So I told
The
you.
24, darn. Well,
January 24.
we can start in 23 and, maybe, we have a tough year there financially. I don't know, is the amount in there, Jeff?
Bond payments, 186,500.
That's in water.
That is in water.
Okay, so,
You're going to be about the same again.
yeah, Yeah, we do, you do 15, 20, definitely, 10 would be 250 without interest, 20 would be 125,000 a year, 15, do 15 year with interest, probably gonna be about the same. Try to keep it as short as possible. Well,
So how critical is this?
we don't want to put it off any longer than we have to, basically.
Right, it's not falling apart, but
Well, how does this work? There are two lines coming to town from the, what do you call it, the plant?
from the station, yeah, from.
Station.
Yeah,
Does one go to the tower up north, one go to the tower south?
correct.
Oh, okay. So they're fed by separate lines,
Right.
and each of them is 400,000 gallons.
No. The,
One's 3, one's 4.
yeah, one of the tanks is bigger than the other, but I think what Cody has been trying to do is equalizing them, by letting one pump more than the other.
Now, between the two of them, that gives us what, Rockville, 3-day water supply? I mean, the tank roughly is.
No, it was,
2 to 3, I think.
yeah, it's 2 days, 2 days emergency supply.
Okay.
So if hell breaks loose tomorrow, you got 2 days of water,
Yeah, 2
then
days.
we need to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Are those connected, two tanks connected anyway?
Well, the system is looped, so
Okay, that's what
it's
my-
kind of connected, but you'd have to do a lot of running around and opening valves.
Well,
and
yeah,
valves
it's
to
awesome
connect them.
valve work, but
Right.
we are looped, okay, that's my question, yes.
Mhm. So I'm looking at your project schedule, milestone dates.
Yes.
Okay.
I had that this report should be done in the middle of June.
Yes.
We originally talked about applying for some.
Yes. That's
We're
why
looking
it's-
at, oh, see
Yeah,
where you
I'll put it
at.
back.
We were talking, we were
That's why it's
talking,
in this here.
we were talking Okra funding for this, and what's about the maximum we might,
700 would be the max you
so
would
700, so knock it down about 1.89, if we got the full amount. Yeah.
Which we'll get because we're trying to.
Okay.
get. We try to create a good edit.
See, we wrote this report to be compliant with SRF and OCR. This is a hybrid report. It really doesn't meet either one of them, but it satisfies both. Because we didn't know at the time when we did this which way we're going to go. I think it's been, the leaning's going to be more towards OCR, right? Right.
Just because they chose not to do it for bond, but that's all right.
Well, okay, so we went with Okra, we would still have, what's the alternative to finance the balance?
SRF one.
SRF. Is there any way to avoid the bonding fee there? Do you think we could get a local bank involved?
No, SRF would probably require bond.
I'm sorry?
SRF would probably require bond.
Well. What?
I agree with her.
Well, I'm just saying, if we can save 200,000 bonding costs, by all means, let's try. So I think that's what the estimated cost is.
Just depends on how long you want your term to be.
Well, no longer than 15. I mean, we've done this.
That's the advantage with SRS, is you just have a longer term.
Yeah, we don't want that. I mean, that's why the town's always indexed. They stretch these things out 20, 30 years and stuff, or 40, and stuff wears out before you even get it paid off. And so, we can avoid that and avoid the bonding cost. And that's a huge chunk of money right there.
The USDA has a loan program as well, but it gets another bond. It's just, they're a little bit shorter.
Well, I
term.
mean, if we use Okra money, can we go to a local?
Does your
bank?
match, yeah.
I
We
don't
did
know.
that with-
I mean, it's rates. Well, I think we should explore it. I'm just thinking it could save us a considerable amount of money. Anybody else?
200 grand's a pretty chunk of the project.
Yeah, yeah. So just thinking
I'm just waiting in the direction of when you want to apply.
for the Okra.
If you would go to Okra, what year
How-
would you want to apply?
How often does that come around?
They've typically been having at least 2 rounds a year, usually
Okay, just like the community crossing. Okay.
timing's a little different.
Do we still have one going or not?
We're closing it out. I mean, it's construction's done, we're just doing the administrative side, close out.
We can have up to 2.
Have a, and that was a
So
sewer.
if you wanted to do one with stormwater, then you could have one with water. You could have those two Okra
Okay.
this spring.
So-
Love that.
For Roger's benefit, what do we need to give him tonight as far as, what do you need, Roger?
I need an approval from you guys on the PER report, and I need signatures that the town has adopted that PER report, so we can proceed with the financial portions and submit it to Okra for the next steps moving forward.
Well, what do you folks think?
Say yes.
I think are the water lines.
Huh? Oh, I know, we'll lose a lot of water, millions of gallons.
That would help.
Well, I'm in favor, we need a motion, we need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. There you go.
Thank you. That
Thank
will
you.
help us move forward.
Yes.
There's a couple of pages there that have to be signed by the president of the board and Brandy. I think Brandy, your signature's on there too, right? Yeah. And once we get those done, Cindy, I need to get the report to you with those forms in them. I need to clean it up, attach everything to the back, and then it's your baby from there, right?
Well, I'll hold it until they tell me what the timing is for application. Because we'll provide this with the grant application.
The soonest would be probably January.
Are you doing 22 or 23?
Well.
We could apply in late 22 to have it in 23, but your bond doesn't mature until 24. So
Right, so
how
we have
much
a year
overlap,
there.
if any?
But we do have, I mean, we have some funds to help us through there. Doesn't water have a little money, some debt reserve, water?
I'd rather apply it at the end of 22.
Water improvement has 286,000, and I mean, that could.
Because you could apply by the time it's awarded and you get bids and you're going to be through several more months. So you may have a little overlap in 23 if you apply in 22.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds feasible.
What do you
There's-
guys think? I mean,
There's a time also where we need some time for design and all that stuff, and then the documents and all that. So there's quite a bit of work still needed on this.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of preliminary work with this report. So we have some very good data, but there's some actual boots on the ground design that needs to happen. So that should be taken into consideration when you guys want to apply and give us time to do the design, get it approved. That's going to go through IDEM, it's a major water project. Get approval.
And that would happen after the.
Yes, all
approval.
that, yes.
I'm assuming South Market was not included in this, right? It was.
I don't know that there's much down South Market that's included in this. Maybe not, I'm not sure.
Well, all the stuff South Market being the other
Yeah,
project.
yeah. I can't remember if there were many valves or lines on South Market
There's
on
probably
that list.
a few, I don't
I
know.
was thinking I saw some.
Fire plug, maybe, fire hydrant or two?
If there are, it's not a considerable amount.
Where are they at? I've got it somewhere. Here it is. Yeah, I don't, you thought you saw something in there? I don't think Pennsylvania Market, east side. Yeah. That's a good question, David. I don't know too much. It could be something here and
Yeah,
there.
that was only the 6-inch line on valves
Yeah.
on Pennsylvania Market, that was it.
And if there is, we can always swap them out like
Yeah.
we did.
I did add a little bit of buffer in here, so let's say I had 100 valves, I put 120 valves in there, you know, just knowing that between this and when it's approved, there's probably going to be some failures, so we added a little bit of buffer in here.
Okay.
It's realistic, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the worst case scenario, hopefully, and it gets better from there.
People just fix this.
Well, we like our showers and whatnot around here. Yeah.
That's
We appreciate
it.
that you do it.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think we
Good.
did mine.
All right. Brandy, if you don't mind, just whenever, scan those and send them to me, the signed copies. That'd be awesome.
I will do that tomorrow.
Roger, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Roger.
Where we at now?
Well, frankly,
Hey,
Okay, mine's pretty quick. I've got claims from this last week and included payroll in there, so
where are
that's.
them? I didn't see anything here.
They're in there.
I didn't have any on the mailbox, unless you just put them up there.
I
Oh.
didn't put them in there.
You
Or
didn't?
put them up there.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
I guess I grabbed the paper off the top.
Uh,
So we got anything special?
don't
basic stuff,
think that there's anything, like I said.
a lot of payroll, health insurance, bunch of GUs, hardware, nothing big there. More payroll. Payroll taxes. There's nothing exciting at all in here. We got park equipment repairs, 12-inch high playground order. What's that?
That's the curbing for the playground. We're expanding a little
Oh,
technically approved
heck.
ground covering for that. So
Okay.
we've got the curbing in, we just got to get the
They
wood
didn't have that when you looked at.
No, they just go with against rocks to throw. Okay, I move to approve.
Second.
A second? All in favor?
And then I did just add a couple of real quick things. I do have I think last year we kind of put those within our approval, so you didn't see these separately. This year we're trying to make it a little bit easier and do these a month at a time, but they're the square up fees for the pool. The program that we use does charge a fee when they use a card, and there is not a way that you have what we have, program we have, to pass those fees to the customer. So,
Good answer for it. Charge them higher than whatever you're going to scan through it.
well, and that's
So if it's like
Park
3.
board.
You're talking credit card fee, right?
Yes.
If it's like 3.5% your fee and they're spending $100, then you just charge them $35 or something.
Got a text for a call.
That's how, I mean, park board,
Right.
if that makes a
How much
difference,
is-
but it's $86.87 for the month of June. So I
Okay.
have those separately that,
I move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
and then one more thing came in today. It was the right-of-way acquisition for Duplantes. And they have agreed on that $1,000.
Is that out on 41 North?
It is. It was the last one. I think there was an issue with tap fees or something with that one.
Ah.
So, the other ones I had all at the last meeting, so if everybody's okay with going ahead and processing the check
I move.
for them. I'll get that one cleaned up.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have.
Oh, yeah.
Randy?
It's his birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you. The police department received a $10,000 grant towards our K-9 program. The transport cage specifically is what that's going towards for one of the new Tahoes, and that has been ordered, and then we'll be ready when the new Tahoes are done in August, hopefully. They're scheduled to be built August the 2nd, and I wouldn't think that'd take very long.
Wisconsin, what is being built at?
I'm not sure about either.
I think you can build those up in town. Janesville.
I emailed you all the adjusted invoice for the roof to include the
Gutter.
gutters,
Yeah.
and I have a hard copy of it here for you. I don't know if it needs signed or approved, if it's approved.
Well, what about, I saw this when I looked at it online. And Brandy, he's got a deposit down here. I mean,
Does he?
Yeah, we can't pay
In advance.
anything in advance. I'm not sure he's aware of that.
I never quite understood that because we're paying phone bills in advance and
That's because within those guidelines, those you can pay.
It's the Indiana code. It's our legislature's really fun sometimes.
so all contractors can't do anything.
Or the county doesn't pay anything contracting wise in advance either.
Huh.
I mean, basically, he needs
Learn
to
something new. I didn't read it, so
get a
I didn't
short-term,
have to approve it.
financing from somewhere for the material. I mean, I have no problem with this, it's what we agreed to last meeting, just do gutters there and all we did.
I went back and looked at it, and it looked like there was gutters on that garage to the east part of it. But I just don't think it has a downspout coming down the building anymore, so it still dumps onto the building, but
Well, I mean, do you want another motion on this, or?
Well, we
We
did,
did.
that's not to exceed
Yeah.
19,000, so it's already been approved.
I couldn't remember if that fit in your guidelines or not, so,
I think it was right at it, wasn't it?
okay. He said that if it was, it wouldn't get done today, but he'll put it on the schedule.
So he doesn't necessarily indicate he wants a deposit, it's just set up where if there's an agreement for a deposit.
Oh, is that what it says at the bottom?
Right, he's just saying 19,000, and then payments are going to be made as follows, and he didn't write in anything as far as the deposit. So we just write in the $19,000 upon completion, and date of acceptance and signature. Really needs to have somewhere where he's signing also, though, I would think.
Some more what?
He only has it to be signed by us.
Okay.
Really needs somewhere where he's agreeing to provide this stuff too, so it needs another signature line where he signs also.
I'll tell him that.
He should hire an attorney to do that for him.
I think he's got one
Any
next door.
recommendation?
I'd be conflicted, actually.
Yeah, he would be.
I mean, what I'd say is let's just draw a line for him to sign.
Oh, yeah, just
also.
draw a line on there, you've got it.
That's what
Draw a
I
line
would
on there.
suggest.
Then we can make a motion.
Make a motion, Nick draws a line, approve.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gave a list of different fees and charges that towns have when you talk about raising funds for public safety. I presented those. Nick has those, but their examples were alarm permit fees. We do answer a lot of alarms in town, and most of those time they are false alarms. So in that alarm permit fee would allow so many false alarms before they get charged for it by the town, because a lot of times it's easier just to let it go false alarm and not come out and check it, and let the police check it, and they don't pay to get it fixed. Towing fees, and a lot of these are from Terrell Police Department, but they do too. When we tow a car, right now, the only person that gets any money out is the towing company. But if it's allowed by law to be towed, before it can be released, they have to come up here and pay a fee for what it cost us to inventory the vehicle and make sure it goes to a safe place. Title check fees, those are $5 each time. We do a lot of title checks here in town because it's where the license branch is.
No, we just go with tobacco sales and school.
Tobacco sales permits, secondhand merchants permits, anything that's secondhand sold. I mean,
So like cars.
everything, probably just about everything on the square. You got a lot of those businesses around here, but the other side of that is the reason that is because it's also a lot of the items that are stolen a lot, and the police have to go check those items.
Right.
So that's why you get those kinds of permits. But there's a whole list of them. I gave them to Nick, and he can share them with you.
I've gone through some of them. Closed road permit, we close roads, we don't charge a fee currently, but we could.
Right.
I mean, we do that at least a couple times a year, I would say.
But I think that's in the instance of, okay, Nick wants to close Market Street to have a block party for his,
Right.
in his office and all his customers.
Right.
Jefferson.
Right. I mean, so we get that, organizations putting on a fair.
Nope. You got the good chair this time.
Fair.
So,
Street fair.
but every time we close the street, we had to drag all the traffic cones out there and
Good reaction, John.
yes, it was very good.
Is he okay?
I think it's strange that.
So the last meeting, we also talked about, when we were talking about funding from the safety, I brought up the Riverboat Casino money. Yeah, I have no problem with that being used for public safety. There's no way to get out of this hole that we ran without coming up with more revenue. And that's historically been 15,000 a year. I think Brandy said this year's going to be down a little, 12. But, you know, that's another source of funds. And we've never really had that for anything specific.
Right.
We've used it here and there over the last decade, but that's something that we can look at using to help offset the expenses. Well, all these things you brought up are good, but I don't think they're going to make a lot of revenue. I mean, the parking meter thing was one of the most realistically, but the startup cost, I don't know.
And that's one of them that's included in that fee schedule too, is parking fees.
And that's a huge issue. I mean, all the merchants in the town was certainly not.
Well, you're going to have pushback on that. I know it's not necessarily always a popular opinion, but I mean, if you look, Danville does it, Danville, Illinois does it. I mean, Crawfordsville does it. You know, these are bigger communities than us doing
Does
this.
Fincastle have it?
I think they might. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been down there.
I don't think they do either.
But I can see that being a significant revenue flow, but you have the startup cost, and I assume they have machines that are actually electronic, use a card, and
Yeah, they have
They
those.
can have, yeah.
does that cut down on labor
And
dramatically?
there might be a grant or something funding-wise that you could get to do that. I don't know. I look at Cindy when I say grant anytime I'm in any meeting.
Indianapolis does it. They have those machines that they just number the spots and then you have to go to the machine and pay for that spot.
But the biggest thing is those places have bigger revenue bases than you guys do, and so
They're
they're
still
doing that. Right. You guys have a very limited revenue base, and we're not doing it.
Well, we obviously, funding for all the services is right.
Well, then you could even sell a yearly permit. If somebody doesn't want to be on a meter, they can buy a yearly permit to park, say that.
Sell a yearly permit for a new parking lot.
And Terre Haute did that for their parking garages. That's the users pay for it.
That'd be a substantial source of revenue, is why I threw that out there, but.
Well, I agree. All these things these are all great, but I don't know how much dent they're going to make.
Yeah.
Add them all up, I guess.
The apartments would probably be somewhat disturbed by it.
Well, I mean, that's just a yearly permit.
Well,
you know,
yearly permit, I mean,
When I went
They're
to
using
ISU, I
public
stayed in
property
a townhouse
to
and had to have a parking
I
pass.
for at
thought
least
they
a
pay
third
for
of the day.
Right. Hey,
So,
but ISU charges parking passes for parking in their lots to go to school. That those apartments that are around ISU down there, they all charge parking permits to be a renter at their apartment. So, I mean, it's not
well,
unprecedented.
it's a cost that's been subsidized by other sources over the decades.
Right.
More and more.
The longer it runs, the more profitable it becomes. I mean, you may have initial startup costs, and it might not help your public safety now, but 10 years from now, when it's done paid for and you've had 10 years of revenue.
Well, you know what we need. I'm sure they're out there. Some company that sells these things, and they've got a sales rep that's just more than happy to come in and give us a presentation. And I would entertain it.
Well, and a lot of them will even take a percentage off of whatever the draw is instead of upfront costs. I mean, that's something you can negotiate for too,
So I don't know who wants to be in charge
You
of
can
that.
lease the meters,
yeah.
and then the town gets a certain percentage, and the company gets the.
Yeah,
They maintain it.
Right.
right. That's the ideal situation.
Jeff, you want to take charge of that project and see if we can get a sales rep here? I just love seeing sales reps.
I certainly can.
Well, I don't know what you folks.
I'm sure they cost more, but they have some. It's like-
Let's get them in here. It'll be entertaining.
You can do it online too.
Maybe we can have one or two people show up.
Oh, boy.
Parking meters.
Bring trees.
Bring trees.
But I also still disagree with this hole that we're in that you said.
The what?
This hole that we've created, you said, because
Well, I'm not
public
saying-
safety
It's just, it's a number on the report.
is not fully funded by public safety funding. And it's only been around about 10 years.
Well,
The
granted,
public safety
okay.
tax has.
But the reality is, we spent the money, we're probably gonna keep spending it, so we gotta come up how we're gonna cover it. I mean, that's reality.
And it's always come out of the general fund before, but now you've got other projects you're wanting to do too that are coming out of the general fund. So it's not just a public safety issue, it's all your issues, what you want to do.
We'll back up, we don't pay for anything out of general fund really except wages for fire and police. We actually, most of the office staff comes out of utilities. We protected the general fund pretty good over the years to keep it healthy. But anyway, we're trying to figure it out.
Okay, well, historically, I'm just saying, it's not a public safety problem. as you keep saying, it's a funding
Well,
issue that's been from everything.
It's a funding issue, but you say our costs went down, and I don't know how you come up with that.
Well, I think that revenues have been down, like you said, okay? But I don't think that we are back to the point we were 6 years ago
You know?
on staffing. Yeah. And we have increased
Yeah,
vehicles.
costs went down staffing, then it went back up.
Right.
So that
You cut a few years, but it's not, public safety spending is not out of control, which is what you've stated, and it's not, we're not,
So public safety is kind of married to whatever is coming, is trickling down from the state funding
Right.
wise and things like that. So when the state doesn't fund it, it's increase its funding, and cost goes up if the funding doesn't increase. That's where you have the shortfalls. So it doesn't necessarily have to be spending by public safety for there being that deficit in the fund, because if we're not getting as much from the state over time as the cost goes up, that explains.
well, all I can say is based on our financial reports in 2
There's
years,
less funding and more cost.
we went
or-
through the hole,
Right.
and we've got to solve that.
Right, but some of that's just the cost of doing business has gone up too, and the funding stayed the same from the state. I mean, I don't have those numbers, but, you know, I assume they're sending you the same amount of money they always have, or less.
Well,
The settlement was just received into
it actually looked like this year we might have just slightly more than what we had the previous year, maybe.
a little bit.
But
based
public
on-
safety's not something where they're gonna generate their own funds necessarily unless you're giving parking tickets, or you're giving, you know, you're getting a court thing. I mean, law enforcement has no way of generating funds, I guess, is.
No,
and we don't want them to.
That's not the purpose, right?
We don't want them going out and writing tickets and arresting people solely to make money for
We
you.
got a new problem.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where my brain snowballed on the parking meters, because then, you know, you have a revenue base.
And I said that the first time you mentioned the parking lot building, was to have parking meters. But, continue my report, Officer Chris Fisher is returned to duty, full duty today from his medical leave. The Police Commission has a scheduled meeting for July 22nd at 6 p.m. They'll have a few more sessions following that, reviewing some use of force reports, just stuff that we've shared with the Police Commission in the past so that they are involved in the process as well.
Is that here or at your office?
I think it's down at our office. So we don't have to drag the computer and the screen and projector.
What time did you say that was, Randy?
6 o'clock, it'll start with an executive session for them to review the
Okay.
use of force reports, and it'll go to an open session probably about 7:30.
That may be about 5 minutes later, so.
Okay. That's all I got to report.
Can you send me an email with that information so that can be advertised, please?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're changing location or something.
Yeah.
just-
Jeff?
Real quick, electric material needed for the substation repair from Eaton. That is $4,155 per unit. And there are 2 units for a total of $83.10. And those are for the little fusey thingies that blew up in the substation, which is why they were flickering on and off.
The technical term, right?
But there's, yeah, exactly, the thing is still blinking like this. It was, that's just the material. There is no labor on that. Our guys will do it. And the guy from Eaton will come in and kind of work with that free of charge to kind of show them how to do that. Might be a small one. Don't know that for sure. So,
I make a motion we purchase.
I'll second.
All in favor?
okay. Budget worksheet, I'll skip around here a little bit. I sent you an email on those today if you want to look at those numbers in an email. Didn't have a chance to print them off for you for tonight's meeting. take a look at those if you will. Awful hard. You know, did the best I could on making revenue projections. And-
Oh, yes, well, yeah, we talked about that last meeting.
Yeah, and I just took my best shot at it, and if we need to adjust them at any point in time, we can certainly do that and make cuts as needed. But this is as good a first draft as I can give you as far as what our expenses are and what we need to fully operate next year. Also, had a fellow ask me about our old fogger machine that's currently sitting down at the park building. Alan's out this week. I was going to talk to him about it. I want to know if he can buy it. I don't even know if it works. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I told him, I said, you know, if we were wanting to get rid of it, we'd have to bid it out and all that kind of stuff.
It
So,
hadn't been used in probably 10 years.
yeah, I just wanted to throw that at you just so there was some interest in it. I'll look into it and see if it's usable, if it's running, if it's something we want to repair. You never know, it may be one of those things that we're mandated to do in the future, you know, with, you know, mosquitoes and that kind of thing. So I don't know that I'd advocate just flat getting rid of it unless it was total junk, because I would imagine that pretty soon. So other than that, that's all I got. Oh, the poles behind John Deere,
Yeah.
those are, the one is supposed to get straightened. The pole's good.
Oh, it is?
It just, yeah,
Needs a tie line or a line?
yeah,
Yeah, isn't
it
it?
just needs
Isn't that
straightened.
funny looking?
And then there was something else somebody asked me about. Doggone it. Oh, it was Melissa. I think I responded to her
Oh,
about
that's
discharge
great.
of water. Yeah. Which I don't think there's anything we can do about that one. Any questions you guys have for me?
I'm probably going to request that the owner get in touch with you and have you or Keith go out and make sure they put sand in that.
Make sure they filled up. Yeah. Okay. We can do that.
Oh, the other thing
Yeah. It was being run into our stormwater.
is what?
It was being run into our stormwater.
Yeah, we went out there and there was a hose going into our storm.
Is there
drain. We
anything,
said,
I mean, can we,
no, you can't do that.
can we like find it or anything?
I don't know that we can.
They were putting basement water in.
No.
It was something else.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
You good?
I'm good. Are you good?
I'm great. Troy's not here, right?
Yeah, Troy's out. He's on an emergency run.
Couple things. We had court last week on some of our small claims. We got one body attachment for a gentleman decided not to show up, so I could ask him about his assets. That's the same as a bench warrant, basically, for his arrest. Judge set bond at $200, so we may get some money out of that. That's not a lot, but it's something. We got two other default judgments, so now we have judgments on those two individuals. One of them indicated they're going to come pay, but they haven't yet. So, Randy touched on that. The foundation did grant the grant for the police gauges in the car. Update on Cerny, that trial's going to go in August per the prosecutor. So there'll be a trial in August. So it will happen. But that's what I have on that. I did look at some of their permit fees and things like that. It looks like to me probably the closed road permit, or maybe there's one for drug and tobacco establishments or alarm system permits. Like Park said, I don't think that's going to generate a lot of funds, but those are things you guys could do if you wanted to. I think we do close some of the roads fairly frequently in town, so might look at a fee on that possibly. But
Yeah, all of that stuff would add up.
but you're probably talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. So
Yeah.
that's not going to close your.
Back to the whole thing, I think we already left, but, Fund 249, for the last 10 years that I've been here, the revenue's been pretty consistent. So non-payroll came out of that fund and it went south in 24 months. So that's something. And I was talking to Brandy last meeting about, we're doing all those expenses now too in the general fund. We need a breakdown to see where that money's being spent, so we can figure out where the heck we can try to cut it. Well, will they require anything in DLGF as far as breaking that out? Or?
Other than invoicing, I mean, which
Yeah.
we've got it, we have it all separate, copies as well, but
But, we've got to do this up through the first 2 months of 2024 till we get back to,
we should be, at the end of next year, I think we should probably be, hopefully,
well, a little more money coming in than
even,
we had.
but,
yeah.
right.
So,
You're still not
I
gonna
don't
be able
know,
to start.
I'm kind of sensitive on that topic. I think I understand why, but darn it. It did go south.
Well, and that particular cost is always going to be something where it's going to cost you more than what you're,
Oh, yeah.
it's just a matter of degree on how much, but, I don't have a vote here, but, I think those parking permit fees or, meter.
Well, that's
parking-
something that would be significant and would be not well received, but
Right, that's something you guys.
it's, what kind of safety level do you want? Do you want fire and police protection at the level we have? And it's got to be it's trade-off.
All right.
Trade-off. Something to discuss. I know Jeff's going to get a sales rep in here, and we'll be entertained and learn something. Yeah.
If you were considering it, obviously probably want to have a public meeting. here.
Oh, of course, we'll have some of those. And, that'll be,
Glutton for punishment, huh?
Yeah, I like it.
just part of it. Huh?
Have we ever had meetings?
Yes.
Years ago, yes, way back.
Back in the dark ages.
I like how
when I
they-
was young.
It was your idea to paper last. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
It is. So you can make it his idea again.
I'm not an elected official, so you
You're
can't,
not.
you cannot vote for me on what to.
Well, it's just being honest with the situation we have to deal with.
You have to generate funding to be able to have nice things.
Yeah.
If you don't have funding, you don't have nice things.
And, well, anyway, yeah, it's something to look into. Where are we at?
And you can choose not to park on the square. If you don't
Oh, yeah.
agree with that,
Park in our park.
What's this under new business?
That was just an email from, I received in a conversation with Randy Cooper on, apparently down at Billy Creek, they're wanting to possibly have some vendors, some food vendors there. Brett did go down there and meet with her on electric options maybe. I just want you all to be aware that that may go on down there and it's private property, but how much do you want the electric to do, not do, or be involved or not be
Well, I don't
involved?
know that we
Whatever they
can.
pay for.
Private property.
Really, our duty is just to get electrical to the property. At that point, it's
There's
their problem.
stuff there, there's meters there, but it would be a hooking up type option, the same thing that you have on the square.
What do
I
they pay,
just-
75?
I could be wrong, because he thought 75 too, without me looking at the paper, or maybe it was,
But if they,
we didn't do it last year, so.
they pay the same thing.
Well, why can't they make provisions for who they want and what they want? And they just plug up to their facilities instead of us running down there every weekend and hooking them up and not hooking them.
This would just be for
For
a
festival.
festival, I'm sorry,
Well,
to clarify, just
okay.
that time,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Is that in the city limits?
No.
So that ought to represent an additional charge if you're out of the city limits.
Well, yeah, they need to decide what, I think they're just it's kind of the first year obviously trying to do this. I don't know much about it, but,
They're
they-
advertising for vendors, I don't know.
But I don't think they got the electrical capacity to do a lot
I doubt it.
down there.
I mean, it's a primitive village. They didn't have
Yeah.
electricity back then.
Well, and
Envision a donkey circling
Yeah.
and attached to something.
They did that for short.
There's security lights back to back, so there are no electricity ran. Or there used to be anyway.
and that's not where they're wanting to,
They weren't in the field or in the village.
I think more up front, more than, because there's posts back there in the back, because maybe there used to be
They used to
camping or
have,
something.
well, they used to have vendors too during
Okay,
festival.
so maybe that's what they were talking about, but, It seems like there's a lot of additional work that could go on down there, and I just don't
Well,
think that
you
just
know,
needs
we
to
like,
be brought to your attention before.
yeah, I mean, there's gonna have to be a fee involved, and
Right.
they have to pass that on to the vendors. The vendors, you know, every vendor have hookup fee. They don't have hookup fees for vendors in the square.
Yeah.
Yes.
They, vendors pay it or PCI pays?
Vendor pays their,
Okay. Okay.
and then they
They
pay their
pay us.
bill for their electric usage from that meter afterwards we bill them.
Okay. So that's what that's all about.
So that's it, just kind of an out there, FYI.
I need to throw an idea here. I'm the president of Rotary in Crawfordsville, and we do all these, we get food vendors, but we have to go through the county's health department and pay it, and they gotta go through there and get a permit, and they pay for the permit. Yes, I don't know if you guys have to do that here or not.
I have to see Liddy.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So there is some permitting.
I get my ounce of flesh too.
The government always gets its.
Yeah, raise rates.
Well, we're talking about a source of funding, so let's not drop this one.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I mean, you could do that, have them pay a fund for that. Of course, your electrical fund would probably get that money, so.
No, they'll put it to good use. Buy more coal.
Maybe if the police hooked it up.
Well, you know, there's always that fish fry thing.
I know, that everything's.
I mean, if I eat a fish fry, you'd be amazed how much those things
Now
cost.
to go read the newspaper.
I mean,
There's
seriously,
a lot of
I
them.
didn't realize you were in a.
I don't know why we don't do them.
I want the firemen to do chili cook.
Well, the fire police combined should do one.
Do you have anything for us, Cindy?
Oh, I'm done.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you want to pursue the Oprah grant funding at the end of '22 for the water project, we'll go ahead and kick off the income survey. So I have the list, customer list, and I've got it in Excel now. We've taken out all business addresses, which left 1,305 total sample, potentially to sample.
So how
We'll
many?
need about,
What is your recommendation for that? 22 or 23?
I would apply the end of '22 because even once you're granted, you know how it takes
Yeah.
months to get your contracts signed. You know, just get some things like that. I mean, as long as when we say go, Roger's ready. So
We'll make
as
it
long
happen.
as
We'll make it happen.
his availability is there.
We'll make it happen. If
So
they
how many-
decide to pull the trigger, we'll make it happen.
How many doors is Brandy and?
297 responses,
Not bad.
not
That's
just
good
doors.
enough.
responses.
10 a day.
A couple weekends, yeah.
No, actually, I was going to ask if it's okay to use Mandy, because what we'll do is we'll mail the first round. And then also, if you want to, we're not required to, but we could put a notice in the paper, just letting the community know that we're doing this.
I think it's a good idea because, you know, you get surveys and a lot of times people get those in the mail and they're just gonna set them aside or throw them in the trash. I mean, they're not interested. They don't know what, the purpose is.
Right.
And it's very important, so.
So I have some standard language. I'll get
For
you
those
for
Facebook
that.
savvy people.
Yes.
And
Put a
then,
chat. Chat.
So if you have something that you could maybe
I do.
type up, then we can publish it that way, so.
So if we mail the first ones, is it okay, because we usually provide also a return envelope, and so we gotta like manually stuff that and things. I didn't know if Mandy has some availability to help with, why are you shaking your head?
Bring them here and we will get them done.
Okay,
Yes,
now, do you want them mailed back here?
sure.
Okay,
There's a camera up there, so if we want to broadcast that citizens will be receiving those.
Well, I mean, we'll do
income
our notice and stuff, that, you know, we'll put that advertising
okay.
out
But
there.
anyway, that makes sure we have that done before 22 application period. And that survey is only good for water because we're surveying the water service area. But it is good for 5
If we
years.
can get that 700,000 Oka grant, if we can finance this locally, that's 900,000. We could cut off the total cost, and that's pretty good.
You're looking skeptical.
Good.
No, I'm just,
I want
what-
to share my experience in Darlington. We did the exact same thing, and we did mailers out, and the educated and well-to-do families returned the mailers, the ones that were really targeted and wanted them, they threw them in the trash. So we ended up getting a few high schoolers to go knock on doors to target.
I made them promise to volunteer for the door-to-door stuff too.
Unfortunately, you guys get it, you'll fill it and mail it back. The people that really we need it from go, I don't care about the city, and they throw it in the trash, so.
Then they get on the chatter.
They do the same thing with our building.
Yeah, but timing wise, that's what I have planned. We'll move forward with that now that you guys have seen the PPR and we have a timing. And I really look skeptical because I just want to make sure in the priority of projects that this is at the top of your list for, to apply in 22, that you're, I know you have a lot of potentials out there with the stormwater or the market, or Jefferson and
North 41 and South Market, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh,
South Market will kick off first of 22, right?
23, yeah.
23?
Yes.
construction, right?
Construction, sorry.
We'll have
They got pushed
all
back,
idea
right?
stuff and everything next year, but
The apartments are coming along.
slow but sure.
I thought it was,
Well, they've had to redo several things
I
because,
guess I had
yeah.
driven by.
Second story's on part of
Yeah.
that one, so
Yeah.
Your
it makes it look like it's.
Good job.
Well, you got anything you want to add, Danny? While you're here?
On your parking meters,
I bet you're against.
this is a retirement town. You're gonna stir up a bee's nest. I remember when we had them before.
I think you put pennies in there, didn't you? When I was little.
More than likely, and people didn't like them
I
then.
know.
So you know where they're at now, they're probably in a scrapyard somewhere.
And we were down in plants.
They're not.
No, I think those guys.
I ain't never seen any.
Are we only talking around the square?
I don't know what all we're talking,
I don't know, Nick, what do you think?
Well, around the square is obvious. I don't know if the other ones were off the square. I mean, this potential parking lot place would be one that you would have, you can hear that during business hours. It's 8 to 4, I think, typically, or something like that.
Except for our stupid signs, did you ever take that sign down?
I envision it around
No
the square.
parking.
I envision it around the square.
On Saturdays or days when your dog's going to.
Nothing's permitted where it requires funding from any type of tax or government.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, that's a given.
I guess we could lay off a law enforcement officer, fire person,
Fire a dog and an officer, and then, it might be a...
get rid of the fire department.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just reality. Sometimes reality sucks. What do you do?
I don't know. Are we ready to adjourn?
I did.
Make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.